Okay, that was quick. Um, Ryan and I went on what we affectionately called the drinking cruise. It was a 3-day cruise, I believe, and the sole express purpose for this cruise was to drink. I'll cut to the chase. I averaged just shy of the 15 drink per day maximum. Ryan, being a friendly sort, would hang out at the bars at the end of the night and have unsuspecting women buy him a drink so that the cruise line would just see his 15 drink maximum. Well, if you hit on enough gals, you could have an unlimited number. His ended up at 17 per day. And people said, well, nobody can drink that much. Here's how you drink that much. You get up in the morning and you have, with breakfast, a Bloody Mary and a mimosa. Maybe 2, those are good. So you're 2 or 3 at breakfast. And that's 10 o'clock or so. Then we'd head to the tiki bar and have kind of a tweener. Not hard alcohol, not beer, somewhere between there. Like a margarita. You're at the tiki bar, so you probably have like 3 of those, and now it's noon and you've had 5. Then you don't eat until 7 o'clock. Say you have 7 hours to kill. Well, it's not hard to imagine drinking 1 per hour. So say that's 6 more. Plus 5, you're at 11. Couple glasses of wine at dinner, couple of nightcaps, 15. The Big Red Boat. The 5 of us went on a cruise. The Big Red Boat had Warner Brothers characters like Yosemite Sam, Foghorn Leghorn. When we checked in, they had overbooked the class of room that we had reserved, cabin that we had reserved. So we got a small upgrade to a suite at the very front tip, the bow of the ship, all windows, and I'm looking in my living room, I don't know, 30, 40 feet long, and, oh geez, 20 feet wide. Ridiculous. Thanksgiving. We used to ski as a crew quite a bit. On our Thanksgiving trips, we would do what everybody does to celebrate. You have Thanksgiving dinner. And we'd prepare, oh wait, we didn't really prepare much of anything, we just heated, because we'd go to the grocery store and we would get TV dinners, turkey TV dinners, and they would have smashed potatoes and dressing and a delicious looking dessert. And we'd heat those babies up and we'd pull each of the components out and put them in a separate bowl. So when you were ready to eat, what you had was 4 bowls of the worst looking food you could imagine. Those were great. Adam and I went to Tulsa, golf course Southern Hills. They had the U.S. Open golf tournament there. Oh, we saw Tiger at that tournament. And where we saw him was in Hooters. We couldn't get a reservation anywhere else. So we were stuck with Hooters. And in comes Tiger with a small entourage and 5 or 6 ridiculously cute Southern Hooters girls followed him into a separate room. Tiger. I brought my salesman, Jeff Lamb, on that trip, and he wanted to bring his 2 sons, which was, of course, fine. His younger son had a character that he played. Politically incorrect, the name of the character at that time, so much worse today. The character was Tard Boy. And, oh my God, it was horrid and it was hilarious. Tard Boy would be in a restaurant, absolutely didn't care who was around, and he would do things like this. I mean, he wouldn't stop. Terrible. Don't you laugh at something like that. Another Tiger sighting with Adam. We went to the Quad Cities Open golf tournament in the Quad Cities, which are like Bettendorf, Moline, yada, yada, way east in Iowa. Just kind of fun to see. I think we saw his second, no, that was his first ever PGA tournament. We took 2 trips to Alaska, one just sharing me when we were 28, and then all of us, except Adam. Oh, I'm trying to think how old we would have been. You, Ryan, you were about 13, 14, Eric 10, okay? Adam stayed home. He just wanted to golf back in those days. And there's an indicator of how spoiled you guys were. One of you decides, Alaska, Ashmaska, I don't need to see that. So, we drove to Seattle to pick up the cruise ship. When we got to Seattle, we stopped at a Perkins restaurant, and Adam's replacement, Patrick Leahy, who we called Squeaks at the time, asked if I wanted to play a new game. And I said, I don't know, what is it? And he said, it's called the penis game. Not being born yesterday, I knew something horrible was going to happen. Leahy starts screaming penis. The place is packed, but here's Leahy. Penis! I swear to God, it was that loud, and it went on and on. And I was peeing myself in the booth. Unbelievable. Drove one of our RVs. I tore the air conditioning unit off the top of the RV. There was a bar for like vehicles higher than this can't get in. I'm too stupid to see it and took off the air conditioner. We got to Seattle. Sherry flew back to Omaha to be in a wedding and then back to Seattle. Yeah, she wasn't spoiled. She had a horrible life. Horrible life. We went on a whale watch. There were killer whales or orcas in the water there. We had a killer whale breach 10 feet from us. Here it comes rising out of the water. I mean, immense. And it's 10 feet from us. Also, we told them we were going to Seattle. And when we're leaving, Eric says, when do we see Adel? Oh, we could have had anybody answer the phone. But I had a client who lived in Seattle named Steve Graham. And I called Steve up and said, would you please be Adel? And talk to Eric. He's dying. He said, absolutely. So, do we get to see Adel? I think Eric was 24 at the time. When we got to Alaska, we took a float plane. This was in Juneau. We took a float plane over a glacier, and a couple of rams were fighting, just knocking heads. Pretty cool. I took a famous, also lost, picture of two of us on the Disney tram, and the picture was off in the front right was a round mirror, maybe 6-inch diameter, and it was so you could see what's coming on the right, and it had the curve to it so you could see a lot. Well, I'm getting on board and I notice if I stand in a certain spot, I can see Sherry and one of the kids in that mirror. Cool shot. And I don't have a lot to say about that trip. It was Disney World. I remember I was in a helicopter ride at some point, but I don't remember who was with me. Another. Let's see, this would have been trying to think. Cindy and I maybe were at the Bishop Newman High School dinner auction. My buddy Bobby Feldhouse had set up one of the oral auction prizes. I did my usual, going, well, it's going to try, and got it. And the deal was that Rick Schwieger would take you behind the scenes at the NASCAR Truck Series race in Des Moines. Small world that it is, Rick is Bobby's brother. Rick worked for me for several months when he was a senior in college. And I bought him a fine looking green suit, too. Rick didn't really amount to anything. He was a communications major and also a decathlete, like ranked in the top 25 nationally decathlete, who I used to follow around the country attending meets. Decathlon is really cool. Well, Rick, communications major, athlete, knows everybody at UNL, all the football players, et cetera, et cetera. So the university needed an announcer for their baseball games at Buck Belzer Field back in those days. Well, Rick Schwieger gets that job. Does a good job. Next thing you know, Rick is calling Husker basketball games in the 12,000 seat Bob Devaney arena. Then, being an overachiever, he became also the Memorial Stadium Husker football announcer. And he implemented music just before the first kickoff, or before any kickoff, I think. And the music was Start Me Up by the Stones. And it was killer. It was the precursor to the Tunnel Walk. Not anywhere near on that scale, but then he goes from Husker football to NASCAR Truck Series announcer on Fox TV. So he's in the booth, national TV, thus our NASCAR Truck Series tour. He does that for a few years, and he gets promoted to the play-by-play announcer, Fox TV, NASCAR Winston Cup Series, the top NASCAR series with all the names you would know. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, blah, blah, blah. So, backing up a few years, he gets us that NASCAR Truck Series deal in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm pretty sure that the three of you said that is, if not the coolest thing you ever attended, right up there. We were in the pits during the race. We had a tour of various racers' garages before the race. We were in the television booth. I mean, it just goes on and on. Killer. Good use of money. RVs, we had 5 of them of various sizes. That's why we got to effectively all 50 states. One time I was driving, and Ryan and I decided it would be a good idea for him to drive the RV. So we were using cruise, probably going 70 on an interstate, and Ryan and I switched seats. Ryan came walking up, grabbed onto the steering wheel. I eased my way out. He sat down and drove. Completely safe. We went skiing with the Kubat family several times. Decent enough kids, except for the oldest guy who was a little weird, you thought. Can't think of his name. It'll come to me. Now, back in the day, I skied with Joe Lamori all the time. And this was, I don't know, better part of 10 years that I was into that. And Joe and I would effectively point the tips downhill and go. And we were on what are called blue runs. They're green, blue, black, easy, hard, impossible. So we always skied blues and just flew. Then, as I get older, I'm getting more and more scared of things. Like, there's a curb coming, watch out. And I mean, it goes on and on. So, I went my last time with the Kubats. And I was so scared of falling. I took only green runs and only the old logging road runs, which were almost flat. I mean, you went down those at about 5 miles an hour. I did one run, and that was it for the entire trip. Something broke. One morning, we wake up and it's 30 below in Omaha. Right now it's like 0, but 30 below. I decided, we aren't gonna do that. We had met a couple on our first Alaska cruise that lived in Phoenix. They were 10 or 15 years older than us. I called them up and told them our dilemma. It's 30 freaking degrees below zero. We need to come visit you today. So we went to Epley, bought 5 tickets, and flew to Phoenix. When we got off the plane, it was 100 degrees. So in the course of 3 hours, we picked up 130 degrees. A moment of brilliance. Sherry's dad, Carl, died. A wonderful guy, Carl. And Sherry called me at work crying and said, Dad died. I'll be right home. So I fly home. I walk in the door. Eric, 5 or so, maybe 4, looks up and goes, I thought you died. Shit. Ryan and I decided that we needed to test the Depends adult diapers. Somebody has to do these things. So we drank a gallon of water each. And we had these Depends on. The theory was they would absorb water. We go to my office parking lot, CFO Services parking lot, and we get out of the minivan, And, you kind of push to get a good stream started. And, oh, God, that feeling when you really need to pee. So we're peeing. And, oh, the Depends won't hold buckets full of pee. And it started, we both, I think, had Dockers on. I think we might have been to church prior. One moment. It started leaking out of the Depends, running down our legs, and annihilating our Dockers. I mean, you could just see the big pea stain growing. Oh my God. I've only had probably 2 instances in my life where I could have killed somebody. And this one, I thought about it, and I could have. Adam and Ryan abused Eric constantly. Well, I don't know how, but I finally find out about it and figure out it's a lot. So I sit Adam and Ryan down in a bedroom with a closed door. And I say the following, about in this tone, but I'm sure it won't be as ominous as it was that day. That's my son. If you touch him again, I'll kill you like I would anyone harassing him. I think they took me seriously. There were some discussions about whether I could kill somebody. This is back in the days when I was strong enough and in shape enough. Maybe I could. Well, the guys, you guys and Adam, were pretty well convinced I could. In fact, you had the discussion with Sherry Dawson's husband, Mike O'Neill, and contended, Mike, he could kill you. And Mike was, hey, look, I was raised in South Omaha, one of the O'Neill boys, we were scrappers, and you guys looked at him and said, no, Mike, this guy has a dark place. And I'm sure I did no damn good with you guys. You continued to abuse poor Eric. And let's close this section on parenting with movie night. What a treat that's been. A treat like Ryan's Pizza. Thanks for those nights. Okay, we're 2/3 done. And this is another good breaking point. So I'm gonna kill this and restart with grandkids stuff. Bye now.